can't eat.
There's something powerful about the journey of leadership, the daily steps, the long-term vision, and everything we learn along the way. Welcome to Leadership Labs, where we explore these journeys with the incredible leaders of Aurora Public Schools. In each episode, we hear from those who are helping guide our district toward Destination APS, sharing their stories, their challenges, and the lessons they've learned along the way. Today, I'm joined by Lacy Jolly, principal of Jewell Elementary School, a performance-rated school where Jaguars are reaching their full potential to shape successful futures. And her 7th year as principal, Lacy leads a community built on high expectations, risk-taking, and perseverance, and collaboration and respect. Let's explore how she's created an environment where students become active participants in their own stories. Lacy, welcome to Leadership Labs.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
Tell us a little bit about who you are and what makes the Jewell Elementary community so special.
Well, I am a Colorado native. I was born and raised. I was born on the western slope, though, in a tiny little town called Colburn, Colorado, about 250 people.
What is it near?
What is it near? It's near the Grand Mesa.
Okay.
So Grand Junction
Yes.
the closest big town. Then we moved to Glenwood Springs, and I did my elementary and beginning of middle school there.
Wow.
And then we moved to Denver. So I went from teeny tiny to middle of the road to big city. And I did high school, the end of middle school and high school in Denver. And then I even stayed in Colorado to do college. I went to UNC.
Me too.
And then I came back and did my student teaching. And when I did my student teaching, when I got done, it was that time that it was actually really hard to find a teaching job. There weren't a lot of teaching jobs out there. And I didn't know where I wanted to teach and what I wanted to do. I went to a job fair, and actually someone from APS was there. And so then I was like, well, hey, I'll try it out there. And I applied, and I ended up getting a teaching job at Kenton, where I started my teaching career.
Wow.
I taught 4th grade for a couple of years, and then Paris reopened. And so we had to cut some teachers, and my choice was stay at Kenton and teach kindergarten or go somewhere else. And I was like, I can do kindergarten. That was a really big change going from 4th grade to kindergarten. And then I had the opportunity to start the PBIS program at Kenton, and I really loved that. Culture's a big thing for me. I love the idea of those pieces. And we got the Roadrunners were being stars up at Kenton, and I did all of that. And then I had the opportunity to actually move to the district level and help other schools implement PBIS.
Wow.
And then all of that transformed. We got a new superintendent, and PBIS kind of morphed into MTSS, and I got to help first shape what MTSS was in the district. And then after a few years in the district, I was like, I miss kids. I miss being in schools. And I went back to Jewell, and that's where I started my admin. And I've been there. So really who I am. I'm Aurora. I'm Colorado.
Yes.
Both of my children go to Aurora Public Schools and have since they were in kindergarten. So I'm really proud to say that I work in Aurora. My children go to school in Aurora, and I'm very proud of Aurora.
Amazing. Jewell's purpose statement is powerful. As Jewell Jaguars, we will reach our full potential in order to shape a successful future. How does that purpose show up in the daily life of your school?
So when I first started as the principal at Jewell, I got the opportunity to go through UVA. And so there was a big part of sitting back and thinking about what is your story and those kinds of pieces. And I really took that. And I was like, Jewell has a long story. And actually a lot of it has to do with this shirt. So I was the AP at Jewell before I became the principal. And we always have a big end of the year barbecue. And at the end of the year barbecue, when I was AP and I had gotten the principal position, one of my students, her name was Macy, came up to me and she was like, look at my shirt. This was my uncle's shirt from the early 80s. And it was the original Jewell t-shirt. And I was like, that is so cool. You have your uncle's shirt from the 80s. And I was like, we're going back to that. I'm going back to, that is Jewell's roots. But there's a story along the way. And part of that started with just the mascots for me. There's been multiple iterations of the Jewell Jaguar. And so my first few years, when you walked in the building, you actually saw, like, here was the original Jewell Jaguar, and then the one that came about in the 80s, and then the 90s. And then at one point we were Chester Cheeto, which I'm not sure about that. And then we went back to Jaguars. And so then I really started thinking, like, Jewell has a story, right?
Yeah.
Like, it has this really complex story of where it started when it opened in the 70s, and then what it's transformed to when I came into Jewell. And even a part of that, when I started as AP, we were a turnaround school, and we turned into performance by the time I took over as principal, right?
That year, I believe, from my research.
That year, yes. And so there's a lot of things that have happened and changed. And so I really turned into, like, Jewell has a story, but within Jewell's story, every single person in that building has a story too,
yes,
right?
Absolutely.
From the teachers to the classified staff to each student. And every little bit of that story is what makes Jewell, right? We couldn't be a performance school if we didn't have all of our kids and we didn't have our staff. And there's been bumps in that story and, all around, but each year is a new chapter and we can rewrite our story. And I very much so believe in that and say that all the time with our kids. Like, you get to choose what your next chapter is. Like, this is where you've been, but where do you want to go next? And so I've really pushed that. We still talk about it. If you walk in our building at the beginning of the year, we start the first 2 weeks is my story, and every student writes their story. And part of that is they share who they are, who their family is, who their traditions are, like all of those pieces. But then they also talk about their goals and what they want to be and how they want to write the next chapter in their story. And it's just such a big part of Jewell, because one of my favorite things is how diverse we are at Jewell. Like, true diversity lives within my building. And every morning I stand at the door and say hello I get to see all the kindergartners and first graders, which is the best part because they're excited to come into school most days. And just seeing all of our parents and out there talking with each other and building those relationships. And there's so many cultures that come together. And it is our job as leaders, as teachers, as staff members to support those children to have, as it says, the most successful future they can have. Right?
Absolutely.
And in doing that, we all have potential. But how do we meet that potential in giving those kids those supports?
Yes. I love that so much. And you're just making me think so much of the Jaguar and the mascot and etc. And I don't remember if at the back to school kickoff, it was your mascot or if it was the Laredo Lion mascot, but one of those two mascots terrified my child.
He's got like the big fierce mouth.
Yeah. I don't remember, but Cozy's favorite animal is the Jaguar. I think he'll be really excited to listen to this episode. Yeah.
And if it was mine, it was actually my child that was in that because my poor children, now that they're old enough, they get to do those kinds of things at homeschool.
I did see that at this year's. That's amazing. I love that too. Well, you sound like you're a traditionally trained educator. You went to UNC, the Columbia of the West.
Yes.
What drew you initially to education? How did you know you wanted to be a teacher?
I have always wanted, like, I was that little kid that played teacher when I was younger. When we were in Glenwood, so, pretty small town, right? My aunt was the secretary to the principal of the school.
Wow.
My mom was a TA for multiple years, and then there was budget cuts, and she started to become one of the nutrition services workers.
Wow.
And so school was family for me, right? Like, I used to get to hang out with my auntie in the office, or when I was sick, I didn't go to the nurse, I went to my mom, right? And she always took care of me. And so it really was just a passion for me. When I was in high school, I was really lucky. There was a class that was kind of like a student teaching. I got to go down. We were on a block schedule. So every other day I got to go down to the elementary school that was down the road for like an hour and a half and work with a first grade class. And that just solidified it for me. I was like, yep, elementary education is what I want to do and where I want to go. And So I did. I went to UNC and did that. And I actually went back and student taught with the woman that I did that high school placement with.
Really?
Which was pretty cool.
That's super cool.
And so I love that, where I'm really lucky now that Scott's over at Gateway. We have LIA, which is the Latinos in Action program. And those kids come up to us once a week and they're working with our kids and mentoring them. And I really love and value that program because for me, that's that for some of those kids, that might be the piece that solidifies like, yeah, I want to be a teacher. I want to work with kids. Some of them are like, no, that's not really my thing.
Right.
But it gives them a great opportunity to be mentors and support to our kids down at Jewell.
Absolutely. You had a chance to meet Naz, right? My intern?
Yes. Yeah.
Yesterday, she was with me, and we were on a long car ride from Centennial back to here. And I told her, one of the, because I don't know if I shared this with you all, but she's not interested in like educational leadership. Mm-hmm. She's interested in like business management, and this was the closest pairing they could find for her. But I told her, I recognize that your plan's not to be an educator, but my best hope is that at the end of her internship that she's going to start thinking about it. Yeah. Right. And so, cool. Yeah, which would be really cool. But I agree with you. I think those are some of those first experiences where for some of the students who are in that Latinos in Action, they're going to either figure out this is not what I want to do, or this is something that I might be interested in. So that's really cool that you got a chance to do something like that too. Awesome. Well, take me back to, that the moment where you realized that, school leadership was what you wanted to do, because you went from school to Central and then you missed the kids and wanted to be back in schools. And what was it about school leadership that was the right spot to go back to?
So it's funny. I used to tell people I will never be a principal. Like, I do not want to be a principal. Yeah. And when I wasn't,
by the way, that's a sure sign that you will be a principal someday.
Probably. When I was working at the district level, I really loved it. But my community director, and she also supported MTSS for quite a while, was Carol Jennings. And she was just this phenomenal leader. And she all the time would be like, hey, Lacy, when are you going to go get that admin license? Hey, Lacy, when are you going to go get that admin license? And I think it was just, she did it enough that I finally was like, okay, fine, Carol, I'm going to go get my admin license. That was a big part of it. It was someone had the belief in me. Absolutely. And she was encouraging me to do it. And she will always be like number one, that has been the one that has shaped my leadership piece. Wow. And so that was huge to me. But I think the other piece, being at the district level, was great because I got to support so many different schools and see all of these different things. But I could support schools and be like, hey, this is really important and why we need to do it. But if that wasn't the school's priority or the principal's priority, it didn't necessarily happen. Right. And so I felt a lot of times like I didn't have the impact I could have. Yeah. And so there was multiple times with MTSS where I would be in a building, and I still remember at one school, there was a kiddo that had been in that building since kinder, and he was in 5th grade, and we finally got him through the evaluation process. And he ended up actually qualifying for SSN, and he had sat in our building for that long with no support. Wow. And I was like, I want to be able to go in and make sure these kids are getting what they and so I think those were kind of my two pieces is, being at Jewell, I get to see the kids, I get to make sure we're getting them what they need and make those decisions. Yes. Which is the biggest piece, right? But that's my community, my kids, they get what they need. So
yes, and you're so right. I fully agree. Schools are the unit of change, right? That's where the magic happens in classrooms and in school buildings, and I love that. Thank you for sharing. Yeah. You talked a little bit about Carol. Are there any lessons you learned from Carol or other mentors that you still carry with you?
I learned a lot of lessons from Carol. So like I said, I was lucky. I started working for her as soon as it turned into the MTSS position. And so She led starting MTSS in Aurora, and she led as that community director. And she taught me a lot about supporting leaders and like how we need to work together and not be one more thing, but like how do we support them through those pieces. And I say all the time now, because, you know, I was still a baby, that I would go in and talk to principals and stuff. And now I'm like, if somebody came in and told me those things, I'd be like, seriously, why do you think you can say that to me? So I learned a lot of really good lessons. And I hope that I help some of the people at the district level to understand some of that in the same ways that I learned. But then she also, I was really lucky when I became principal, she was the director over my school. So I also got to have her as my true mentor and leader when I first started as a principal. And there were many times I called her crying, going, I don't know if I can do this. I don't, you know, like this is just too much. And she would always tell me, Lacy, you got this. Let's talk through it. Like you can figure this out. And one thing that I still hold to this day is and I think a lot of principals do, when I first started in the principalship, if a parent was upset, I just took it so personally. And she would always tell me, you know, it's okay, and we're going to figure it out. And she taught me, like, all they want is for someone to listen to them and allow them to, you know, get their pieces out, let them be heard, and then, you know, step in and support them. And I think that has helped me so much with working with parents. Is that I always am like, yeah, it's not about me. They're not upset with me. They're upset with the situation. And so how can I step back, listen to them, and then step in to support them and be a partnership?
Wow. That's really powerful. And I hope that I'm hearing correctly too, that some of the hardships and challenges of that first year, second year, third year, you just build stronger muscle and capacity to lead through those.
Tell me too. If you can do this, you can do anything.
Yeah, she's right.
You'll get.
And she's right.
My first year was COVID, right? So I started and we made it to March and like things were kind of going, and then COVID. And it was like, how do you lead through this? And then we had the 2 years of COVID, right? And then Century closed. And so everyone was coming back full from COVID. And I ended up with 150 new kids from Century when I was only projected 75. I ended up having too many kids. They didn't have mobiles to me yet. So we had all of like my ESS and stuff were in the library with cubicles. I had teachers on little carts, like my specialists were on carts so that we could have space for our kids. And that was the year that I cried to her a lot. But now we're at this point that it's like we've made it through that. And it's great to see the other side. And I think for me, that's something really important with leadership. And I think a big part of the reason I've been successful and Jewell is where it is I've been there for 7 years. I've been there for 9. I've been the principal for 7. I've got a team that's been there for a long time. Like my leadership team has been there with me, and a lot of my teachers have. And so we've been able to build upon things. We've got relationships within the community. And that's something I love too, is I've got kids that are graduating, right? Like I've got one that she's not even a Gateway anymore, but they have little sisters that do sports with my girls. And so I see them. And one of my girls that unfortunately was in the office with me quite a bit when she was at Jewell, she's going to graduate from Central this year. And I told her, I was like, I better get an invitation. Like I'm coming. I'm going to watch you walk, right? Like I love seeing my kids be able to go on and be successful.
That's amazing. Well, we talked a little bit about this is your 20th year in APS, your 7th year as principal, your 9th year at Jewell specifically. Tell us a little bit about just what initially drew you to APS and why you've stayed for as long as you have.
I mean, to be very honest, it was I couldn't find a job. I didn't know where to work. And then I met that person at the job fair, right? I think a big part of what has actually kept me in APS in Aurora is my husband. So I actually met my husband at UNC. We had mutual friends the whole time we were up there. But once I graduated and was working at Kenton, he was down here working at a Safeway that was just down the street from Kenton. And we ended up hanging out, and long story short, we're married with 2 kids. But he is actually an Aurora alum. So he went to Iowa, Moracheck, and he graduated from Gateway.
Amazing.
My in-laws still live right over by Iowa in that same house. Good. And so this is where his roots are, and it's where our roots are. And like I said, I'm proud to, my girls both went to Murphy. My oldest is at Vista Peak, and the opportunities, I'm truly proud of it. The opportunities that she has, the amount, she's a sophomore and she's taking multiple CCA classes, right? Incredible. And those things, and to know that my kids at Jewell have those exact same opportunities, right, is so cool.
We were with Dr. Mordecai Brownlee from CCA yesterday, and he made a comment to us about just all of those opportunities, with our partnership with CCA, and the recognition that your daughter will likely graduate with an associate's from CCA a couple of weeks before she graduates from Vista Peak Prep with her high school diploma, which is just amazing.
Well, and the cool thing about Aurora is too, I didn't push that with my daughter. She came home from school with that, I can get my associates when I graduate from high school. And that's been her goal. And that never came from me and my husband. It came from her, but that came from school. And she knew she had those opportunities and those places that she can go.
That's great. Shout out to VPP.
Right?
Amazing. Jewell's mission also emphasizes ensuring equity through high expectations, fostering risk-taking and perseverance, and nurturing collaboration. How do you bring those values to life at Jewell?
I think going back to I have a story, we have a story, right? And it's about understanding that each and every one of our kids has a beautiful, unique story.
Indeed.
And that story means that each one of them has unique experiences, but also need different supports based off of what they're bringing to us, right? I advocate a lot that I don't think people see the amount of transiency we have at Jewell because we have the extended stay hotels and some of those pieces. And I mean, I have kids, I have one that we are his 10th school and he's in 3rd grade. Wow. So, I mean, in his 4 years of education, he's been in 10 schools. So that's an average of 2 a year. Yeah. And these kids come in and they just need a place where they're gonna be accepted and loved, but also loving you doesn't mean that I'm going to say, it's okay, you can't do it. It's gonna be, you can't do it yet, but we're gonna help you get there. Yes. And so that's where that high expectations come in. Yes. Is we are going to be here to love you and support you, but that support means I'm going to push you because I know you can do this, and we're going to go that way. And that's something we've talked a ton with our staff about, is every one of our kids can do it. Yes. What do they need to be able to get there?
Yes, absolutely. Gonna transition into a little bit of a lighter set of questions here for the leadership playlist. What books have either significantly influenced you, or are you reading currently, or that you would recommend? Maybe some that are just distracting you from all the things happening either at work or in the world, which is a hard place to be sometimes.
It is. I read a book over the summer with my daughter and actually my husband's family called The Measure. And it's a fictional story, but it's about one day everyone in the world wakes up and there's a box that has a string, and that string is the measure of how long your life will be.
Oh, wow.
And you get the choice of, do you want to open that box or not, to see how long you will live. And it's really interesting because it follows multiple different people. Wow. And some of those people open the box and see how long their life is going to be. And, you know, it's going to be a long, fruitful life, or it's going to be a short life. And then they start freaking out because it's going to be a short life. And then there's other people who choose not to. And it's really about that ultimate debate of, would you look or wouldn't you look?
Wow.
And so it was really fascinating to do that with family. And we were like half and half. Half of the people would want to look and know, and they would want to know how long their family strings were too.
Wow.
And about half were like, I wouldn't want to know, because I wouldn't want to know when that end is.
Oh my gosh.
So it was a cool book. It was fun to read with my 14-year-old. So
first of all, I love that you have a family book club. And second, would you?
I wouldn't.
I don't think I would either.
I think I would just stress about it too much.
Same here. Yeah, I feel like I stress about it now sometimes when not even having the ability to actually know. Wow. Yeah, that's interesting. The measure you said. Okay. I may have to check that one out. What about music? What's either, playing on your drive into work, or, depending on your mood, what helps energize you?
Depending on my mood. So oftentimes it's country music. I am a country music girl, but it is more of that like red dirt country. It's not quite as much the pop country that I'm really into. If I need a real pick-me-up, though, it will be things like Michael Jackson or like the classic 80s metal is what I listen to in the mornings on my way to work. So it's kind of a variety.
Yeah, the nostalgia. Michael Jackson is one of my Funko Pops over there. Awesome. Okay, now we're going to transition into our Destination APS lightning round.
Okay.
What does Destination APS mean to you and the Jewell community?
I think I've spoken a lot about it, right? To me, it means people are proud to have their children there and know that their kids are going to have those experiences. And I love that I can be a person that says, like, that's me. I work in APS, but I also have my children in APS.
Absolutely.
And I'm proud of that. And I do see we have families that are coming back to us from charter schools and those pieces. And when families are wanting to open enroll and wanting to be there, that's when we've hit, destination. They know that we're here to help their students grow and meet their full potential.
Absolutely. This is a unique question for you in lightning round, but how do you help students to become active participants in their own stories?
So I think partially our conversation about the fact that they have a story and like you are where you are, but you get to choose where you're going in the future. And it's really up to you. You get to make those decisions. Are you going to work hard and get over this really hard math problem? Are you going to, make a really hard decision of maybe not hanging out with these people or doing these things? And I think we also, last year at Jewell, we really, really set up goal setting with our kids. So we gave them success criteria and have taught them to grade themselves. And then based off of that, what's your goal from there? And this year, it's been really cool to go in and see kids be able to tell you, like, here's where I am and here's where I'm going to get. And they're proud to tell you that.
Yes. Okay, last question. What advice would you give to an aspiring school leader?
There's a lot of advice I would give them.
Don't overwhelm them, scare them off.
Right? I think that's one of the biggest things is don't take like things personally. And it's so hard not to when you become that leader and you do become, I guess, the face of that school. You can take things personally, or you can step back and say, nope, I'm doing what's best for kids. And I'm not going to make everybody happy in doing what's best for kids, but ask yourself over and over again, is this what's best for kids? If it is, it's okay that person's upset with you because you're doing what's best for them.
Thank you. And thank you for sharing your a little part of your leadership journey with us. Your commitment to helping every Jewell Jaguar reach their full potential and shape their successful future demonstrates how powerful it is when school community lives its values every single day. Join us next time as we continue exploring the paths of those who are helping guide us toward Destination APS. Until then, keep running your race with purpose.